Writing a screenplay for a film is something that can seem really frustrating. How do you decide what the character says? And why are there even so many skipped lines? Today I wanted to talk about my first short film and how you can write your screenplay. So honestly, in the beginning, I had no idea what my film was going to be about. I already had some concepts in the vault, but I didn't want to try any of those out. I wanted to try something different, something that's faster to understand and you don't need too much screen time to explain it. So I didn't have an idea for the film, but I did have inspiration. I had inspiration from the therapy episode from Atlanta and the Count Me Out music video. The reason I picked those pieces as my inspiration was because of three things. I really like the silence between the dialogue, the framing they used, and the lighting. The lighting was very appealing to me. So as a start, I knew I was gonna go down this direction. After I wrote down all the ideas that I wanted from those two pieces, I would write down what type of person the main character would be, what were his characteristics, what would he be like, and all that stuff. Because it was a short film, I couldn't fit a too complex character within those 7 minutes. So I had to create something that was on the surface and to the point. There was one keyword I kept in mind when writing this character, and that's juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is basically when, hold up, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Juxtaposition is the fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. So with those things in mind, I created a character that was playing the victim, but was actually the villain. So after this, in broad terms, I wrote what the story was gonna be about, what he's dealing with, how the therapist would help him, who will be the supporting characters to the story, and all of this would then be written as a concept or logline. So you have the ideas, and after the ideas comes the concept. With the concept written down comes the fun part, imagination. It's time to write your beat sheet. The beat sheet helps you define key moments in the story that define the progress of your story. Each beat is a specific moment that moves the plot forward. And there are different ways you can structure a story. For example, the 3-act structure. This is a very common structure used in screenwriting and novels. The story is divided in 3 parts: the setup, the introduction of characters, their motives and goals, the confrontation. That is the thing or person that stands between them and their goals. This part includes the rising action and the main conflict. And finally, the resolution. This is where the story reaches its climax in either a win or a loss for your main character. Another structure I want to cover is the hero's journey. This structure follows the main character from something that is ordinary to them, something normal, to something that is new, strange, or unfamiliar to them. With all these things happening, the main character undergoes a transformation through different challenges that it's confronted with. At the end of the adventure, or at the end of the story, the main character comes out different than it was at the beginning, either better or worse. The final structure I want to cover is the nonlinear narrative. This structure breaks away from the normal chronological storytelling. This includes things like flashbacks, flash forwards, and other temporal jumps in time that challenges the viewer to piece it all together. This is what I used in my story. I think I never wrote something before. For my story, the main character had to give examples from the past where he was met with altercations. And using this information, the therapist goes deeper and ultimately reaches the core of the problem. This is an example of how you could write your beat sheet. Opening scene, present day. Beat 1. Detective John Mallory visits the abandoned warehouse where the unsolved crime occurred 20 years ago. Flashback to 20 years ago. Beat 2. Young John and his partner respond to the crime scene for the first time. They find a mysterious locket. Return to present. Beat 3. John interviews the victim's friend, who was never questioned initially. Flashback to 5 years ago. Beat 4. John, facing retirement, reviews the cold case files, finds a missed clue related to the locket. Return to present. Beat 5. John tracks down the maker of the locket, learning it belonged to the prime suspect's mother. Flashback to 10 years ago. Beat 6. John receives a cryptic letter hinting at the suspect's guilt, which he dismissed at the time. Climax. Present day. Beat 7. Confrontation with the suspect who has been hiding in plain sight. Resolution. Beat 8. John solves the case, revealing the truth at the retirement party, bringing closure to the victim's family. Final flashback. The night before the crime. Beat 9. A new perspective shows the suspect stealing the locket, setting the entire story into motion. Ending. Present day. Beat 10. John visits the victim's grave, leaving the locket as a symbol of peace and closure. With this in place, the next thing to do is expand each beat into scenes. This details who is exactly in the scene, when and where it's taking place, and what each character does or says. This expanded version of a beat is what you would call a treatment. So the treatment includes all the major plot points and the character development arcs. And the treatment may include some dialogue, although that is not really the focus yet. And after writing the treatment, the screenplay follows. The only real work here is to transform your treatment into a professional screenplay format. This includes scene direction, dialogue, and character interaction. Screenplays have a specific industry standard, so keep that in mind when writing these. We'll dive deeper into screenplays in another video. It is extremely rare to have a perfect first draft. You will have to review and edit the screenplay with the producer, the director, and yourself, the writer. This could be to deepen characters, tighten up the plot, or polish up some dialogue. After these steps, ideas, concept, beat, screenplay, you have successfully written a film script. You are now ready for the next steps of pre-production. I did my best to write everything in as much detail as possible so that we didn't miss anything during shooting. The last thing you want is to look back at the script during editing and realize that something is off or something is missing in the story. The entire film lays on the foundation of a strong story and very good pre-production. So use as much time as you need for a flawless script and pre-production. So we're at the end of this video. If you like this, like, subscribe, comment, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.